You're listening to Comic Reflections, episode 144. I'm your host, Nicholas Prom.
I'm Jeff the M from the Fifth Dimension. I'm going to turn my co-host into a baboon. Oh, it didn't make much difference. Let's look at the show notes. Hey. What? Fed Trodnar. Oh no! Sent back to the Fifth Dimension.
Oh, where you belong.
Curses foiled again.
Comic Reflections is brought to you by Rhymes with Geek, where you can check out our show, plus many other cool podcasts like the all-new Anti-Fanboy, Feed It Comics, and Super Podcasto Magnifico at rhymeswithgeek.com. We're also available on backissueheroes.com, the home of classic comics on the web. And if you enjoy our show, please subscribe to us on either iTunes or Stitcher. And before we get deep into the comics we read this week, Jeff, I want to talk about a couple of serious things.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's kind of personal, and I hope you won't be upset with me for mentioning it, but a good friend of mine and fellow podcaster, John Suarez from the all-new Anti-Fanboy, he lost his father this week. And I just want to... John's a friend, and I just want to extend my condolences. John, I love you, and you and your family are in my thoughts. So
I don't know him, but I've lost my father, and it's really hard, and he has my condolences.
Yeah. One other thing I think is important to talk about maybe is mention the attack on the Charlie Hebdo comic newspaper in France.
Well, it's interesting that sometimes comics are so silly and inconsequential. Well, people are willing to kill and die for them, and
Yeah.
that's something to keep in mind.
And any idea or ideal of any value is worth dying for.
Yeah. I don't like their style of just purely aesthetic.
Right. I looked at them and I was like, I didn't like it. But
It is a very European style of cartoons, and
Yes.
I think the rest of the world does it that way, because you look, I've seen Middle Eastern and all that, they're drawn similar.
yeah,
That's not important in this case, and
Right.
Someone should not die for drawing a cartoon.
right. And these cartoonists are heroes, really, for not backing down and refusing to censor themselves.
They caught a lot of crap earlier.
They did.
Just 4 or 5 years ago, and people were not on their side.
Right.
And they were almost by themselves. And they were
Yeah.
heroes then, and they didn't get any support until after they were killed,
Yeah.
which is sad. But there are people who do not like Western culture and want to see it destroyed. And
Yeah.
I like Western culture. It's got a lot of faults, but
Yeah.
I don't like the alternatives
Right.
as much.
Saying you believe in free speech doesn't mean a thing if you say, "Oh, except for this," something that you find distasteful. It's all or nothing, and I'm of that disposition. No, I think I don't. I think that the entire comics community is standing in solidarity with Charlie Hebdo in this, and they're continuing publishing. They're not going away, and I think that's terrific.
Yeah, I've read some people are getting subscriptions. They say it's very expensive, but hopefully
Well,
they'll change.
Right.
That's
I mean, to get a cartoon strip or a magazine from France, of course, it's probably all those things involved. But yeah, and I just read I think a couple days ago an interview with Robert Crumb, the great American cartoonist who's lived in France for the last 25 years, and he was acquainted with some of these guys, and of course he was at the Remembrance rally or whatever, because he's like, I had to.
I think most of France was like 700,000.
Yeah, and it's. I'm glad that he was there, and I'm glad that he spoke up about it and in support of them. So.
Yeah, if anyone had been a target of censorship, it's Robert Crumb.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's anybody more controversial.
He is definitely the I think he's the single most important figure in underground American comics.
Without a doubt, I'm not. there is no second. He's
Right.
so far ahead, and just he's a very good draftsman. His stuff is really wonderful. Some of it is extraordinarily distasteful, but I enjoy it. I wouldn't give it to 8-year-olds, but
the thing is, Crumb stuff. I know we're getting on a tangent, but it's genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I appreciate about it. I may not have the same worldviews necessarily as Robert Crumb, but I have tremendous respect for him for not backing down and speaking his mind.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to him just in general. You know?
Right.
I hope he lives forever.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Je suis Charlie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nous sommes Charlie.
Yes. So, but
And that's all the French I know.
yeah, yeah, I don't really know any either. So
I took 2 years in high school and 2 or 3 in college, and I think I know about 50 words. Okay, on to happier times.
yes, let's talk about Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, number 74. The lead story is The Pranks of Jimmy the Imp, written by Jerry Siegel, penciled by John Fort, and inked by George Klein.
Okay, this is just fantastic. I love the expression on Jimmy's face in the first splash panel is just malevolence. It's really cool. Mix Jezpidalik.
Mm-hmm.
The stories are so cool because he's very mean, but he doesn't really do anything dastardly. He just does really pranky stuff that doesn't hurt anybody, but
it causes trouble. It disrupts normal life. So
yeah, and it's just fun because Superman has trouble fighting him, and there's only one way, of course. Because what I try to do in the beginning of the show was say the name backwards. Man, it's hard to put your name backwards.
yeah,
and especially if your name is Mix Jezpidalik.
yeah, I can't say it backwards.
Complexum or something, I don't know.
Yeah, something to that effect.
But they are fun. And Jimmy Olsen and Mix, comic gold.
That is a great combination.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we open with Mix Jezpidalik in the fifth dimension, observing our world on like a monitor screen.
Right. And
he's scoping out Jimmy.
Yeah. And he sees Jimmy giving a... Jimmy's wearing his hat, which is probably a mistake. He's wearing Mix's hat and giving a paper, a story to Perry White. And Perry says it's not typed very well. It's, really? Is that going to be...
I don't know. You know, somebody's got to copy edit it, or somebody's got to go use the ditto machine or whatever. In those days, it's a bigger problem, I think.
Yeah, and I think that Perry just likes yelling at Jimmy.
Sure.
So, all right, so Mix is watching this, and he uses the intradimensional ray and the ultra magnifier, and makes Jimmy both magical and malicious.
Yeah, so he's able to get Jimmy to do magic things. Mix Jezpidalik is trapped in the fifth dimension because he's just been sent back by Superman, and of course he can't return to our world for 90 days.
Yeah, doesn't he have anything better to do than bother Earth? I'm not complaining. I love it when he comes. So.
But see, that's the reason Mix is manipulating Jimmy through this.
But, and the thing is stolen as well. He stole the device.
Right. So he has Jimmy turn Perry White into a tiger.
Doesn't the tiger look like the tiger from Captain Marvel?
I was just going to say, he looks like Mr. Talkie-Tawny. He looks exactly like that.
Yeah.
You read my mind.
Oh, okay. Not very difficult to do.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, okay. So, all right, immediately after this, and every time he does this, he feels bad about it. And I think it's some kind of interference with the ray.
Yeah.
So, he sees Lucy Lane, and she's with this tall guy, and Jimmy's not tall, so she makes her short, and
He shrunk her, yeah.
yeah, and she's with this tall pilot, and he says, "I want to be with a midget. I look ridiculous." Oh, she's crying,
and Jimmy's flying around. I love that
man,
too.
with the expression of
Smugness.
yeah. All right, and okay, and so Lois, she's getting an award and getting a big head, so she gets a big head. I love it when they put big heads on people. It's great.
Yeah. Apparently she makes her bald too, but she has like this super big head, and then
turns Clark into with a chicken head,
which is great.
Yeah. Oh man! So everyone's together, and it's fix us. So they're trying to undo it,
and they know Mixer's Pidlick has something to do with it, obviously,
right,
because of the hat Jimmy's wearing.
Yeah. So he has to write his name backwards in order to work. So he tries with a pen, and it turns to a snake. He turns, let's see, he uses Morse code, and it turns into one of those skulls that clack.
Yeah.
You know, and so he just writes a great article on how great Mixer's Pidlick is, and on carbon paper, and the carbon paper has his name backwards.
Nice.
Yay.
And then everyone's turned back, and then in the fifth dimension police come and arrest Mixer's Pidlick.
Man, loads of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucy's not mad. She's really happy about. She gives Jimmy a hug, and that's all as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We got a couple of in-house advertisements. Superman meets Goliath, Hercules, the renegade super legionnaire.
Oh yeah, I think that's the story that introduces the I'm blanking on his name, so never mind. Ultra Boy.
Okay, and Lois Lane's outlaw son.
What?
Man, cool.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
The next story we have is Jimmy Olsen and the 40 Thieves.
Yeah. Oh, and we have another in-house ad.
Great house ad for a Giant Superman annual.
Rocking chair Superman and a bunch of origins. Origin Mr. Mixer's Pidlick.
Cool.
The Rainbow Clark Kent. Okay. Man. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So before I need to give credit for this story, please. Anyway, Jimmy Olsen and the 40 Thieves was written by Leo Dorfman, penciled by Kurt Swan, and inked by George Klein. So.
Jimmy is wearing Aladdin type outfit, and with this magical time. What is it? It's a hourglass. He drops and gets sent back into Aladdin time. And one of the crazy things that happens, he's already dressed, so he blends in, and he sees this girl who looks like Lucy Lane, and
she's wearing a veil, yeah.
And he pulls it up, and she's hideous.
Right.
And of course, this is against the law, so he's being chased. It's pretty cool. And he's saved by this guy who looks like Lex Luthor. Of course, he always goes back in time, and he sees somebody who looks like somebody else. So,
right.
And it's kind of clever. They have a clever idea why the open sesame door works.
Right, and they have it's a very Rube Goldberg kind of invention, but of course, Lex Luthor created
work.
It. Yeah.
Okay. So Lex said, "Hey, you need to," or past Lex says, "You need to earn your keep." Mm-hmm. So he becomes a snake charmer, and he's.
Because Lex Luthor saved him from the mob.
Right.
The mob of people that were going to kill him. Mm-hmm. So he's joining up with Lex and the 40 Thieves.
Yeah. So he learns how to charm 3 snakes at one time.
Cool.
I have never understood the snake charmer thing. I wonder if it's real, or is it a Hollywood crap, or is it?
I don't know.
I think it is, but man, no thanks. Keep me away from cobras.
Snakes. Why does it always have to be snakes?
Right. Mm. But Lex and his 40 Thieves has this crazy idea. Jimmy to steal these jewels. Mm-hmm. Jimmy is wowing the crowd.
Yeah.
So they his band of thieves steal diamonds and jewels, and then they put them in the bags and shoot them with crossbows
Cool.
into a minaret, and then they shoot over the wall. And
Cool.
there's people up there shooting over the wall, and works pretty good.
Right on.
Not bad. Jimmy said, "Oh no, I've been used as a ploy, or in a thievery thing, and so I'm gonna run." So he runs and gets captured and sold as a slave, and Lex buys him.
Yeah, and then it reveals that he is Lex Luthor,
Mm-hmm.
the real one.
Yeah, the good Lex Luthor. I like this times.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor.
And Lex uses Jimmy's signal watch to signal Superman, and Superman travels through time. I don't know how he can hear it through the time barrier.
Because he puts a ultrasonic amplifier.
Oh, right.
Yeah, which looks kind of cool, actually, really nice and simple.
I always love when Superman's going through the time barrier and you see the years go by.
And 1960 is our time, or time it is written. Superman goes through, and Lex has this jewel thing. What's it called? Jewel flower, which makes kryptonite rays. I don't know how. And Superman is about to die.
Right.
Jimmy kicks one of his one of his snakes upon Lex, and he bites him. There's no cure then, so Lex is going to die. So he stops killing Superman. Superman uses a super speed to make a super antidote for the snakes. Jimmy destroys the jewel flower, and they find the city of Kandor.
Oh, and Lex had stolen it.
Yeah.
Right.
Man.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, the next story we've got is called Jimmy Olsen's Secret Love. And it was written by, hang on, my notes, Jerry Siegel, penciled by Kurt Swan, and inked by George Klein.
Oh, this is complicated.
Yeah.
Lucy Lane is on assignment on an airplane, on the airlines, to dress like someone else and keep an eye on the health.
Okay.
She's kind of a narc, which is kind of...
Well, she's like being a secret shopper.
Yeah.
And she is an airline stewardess. That's her job, right?
Right.
Okay.
But it's kind of... She's spying on her...
Her coworkers?
Yeah. I don't know. But it's a living.
It's a living!
What's that from?
The Flintstones.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay.
You have an opinion. Oh, good.
What?
You have an opinion. Good.
Yeah, they're okay. It's just... It could have been better, but...
Okay.
No. But it's important, so... Okay. So... Jimmy has a job to look for this guy, Slick Eddie. And he beefs himself up, with pads and shoulder pads and all this stuff. And he pretends like he's a magician.
Yeah. He wears, dyes his hair black, puts on a mustache.
He looks kind of half, and you can't see his freckles.
Right.
So, I don't know, he wows... he meets Lucy.
Who is also in disguise.
Yeah.
That's
and
important.
he wows her, and they both like each other. Because she's a star. They like each other more than like the real Jimmy Olsen and the real Lucy.
Which is hilarious. But in a way, it means they're kind of destined for each other,
Yeah. I don't know, Jimmy, for some reason, puts hair on his bald guy.
A wig on him.
And he looks like it's long blonde hair, so it looks ridiculous. And this little kid goes, ha ha. I think, is that the first Nelson
Muntz?
Yeah.
Maybe. But anyway, the big bald guy gets super pissed at Jimmy. And it's hilarious.
Right.
But then he reveals that's Slick Eddie.
Right. Yeah, so then they go to a masquerade party. Not with each other, so Jimmy dresses up like a movie star actress,
Mm-hmm.
and Lucy dresses up like a magician. They're both wearing heels. Okay, so oh, and they kiss, and then they get in a wreck, and they think they're gonna die. And Superman comes, but he doesn't reveal that he knows who Jimmy is.
Right.
And so Superman's a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
He's a good wingman.
Yeah. I like that Superman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
You know who else is a good wingman?
who?
Hawkman.
Ah, shut up. So
Sorry.
so Superman finds Slick Eddie, and everything is cool. So,
Nice.
but they didn't tell each other, fake Jimmy and fake Lucy, did
Yeah.
not tell each other how to get a hold of each other, so they're lost forever. And so
Aw.
they think about them. Although, well, readers, what's your verdict? Do you want to see Magi, which is Jimmy, and Sandra, which is Lucy, to meet again? Let us know.
And I don't know. There is a cool Batman house ad in there.
Oh,
Look at that. For another Batman annual.
yeah.
Super sweet.
What's on here? Yeah. Oh, the dinosaur.
Yeah.
I've always wondered about the dinosaur.
I've read that story. I probably had that annual at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I've read the stories where the dinosaur and the giant penny are introduced.
Yeah, that's
And-
just. I've always wondered.
Yeah.
What
They're,
gives?
they're pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So-
and here's another golden one.
Oh, man. Next, we have Jimmy Olsen, number 80, to talk about. And the lead story, it takes up most of the book in two parts. It's called Jimmy Olsen, the Bizarro Boy. Written by Jerry Siegel, penciled by John Fort, and inked by George Klein. And this might be the greatest Jimmy Olsen story of all.
Oh.
It's awesome, I will say that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good ones.
You know,
But this one's great. Because it's
yeah,
got
the
Bizarros.
only thing that would make it better is Mix was in the mix.
Mix just
then-
Diddlick and Bizarro and Jimmy.
Yeah,
That's just too crazy.
I think our heads would explode.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just.
I mean, because the Bizarro stuff is so complicated in its backwardness.
and your mind hurts after you read it for a while.
But it's great.
Yeah, there's a wonderful modern Bizarro trade.
I know
which
what you're
is-
referring to.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. So, but it's a take. It takes off on almost every famous comic book you know of.
Right.
So, the takeoff on Sandman is great.
I need to read it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you do.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
So Jimmy's in the Daily Planet office,
With the Bizarro mask.
and he scares all the gals in the office in the secretary pool. He tells Perry and Lois that it's just a joke, and he's going to go visit Professor Potter, who's working on an invention to turn Bizarros into regular people. How nice!
Yeah, so we get the story on Bizarro origin.
Yeah.
So,
But Jimmy says he's going to pull a foolie. I'm going to go with my Bizarro mask because Professor Potter, he's a crackpot. He never makes anything that works.
what a stupid thing to do.
Right?
I wouldn't get near Professor Potter, much less in a dang Bizarro mask.
So he goes in the Bizarro mask, and the machine
Turns him to Bizarro.
turns him into a Bizarro. And so he goes about his regular Jimmy business as Bizarro Jimmy.
Yeah. He writes a news story. People put money into bank. and Perry's really mad. and he calls Superman on his watch. Says, "Oh, I call Superman when not in danger."
Right. And
No.
so Lois and Perry don't know that Jimmy's not pranking.
That's
That this
right.
is real.
But Superman does with his supervision.
Right.
Okay.
So Bizarro Jimmy sees Lucy. And what happens there?
Oh, she's with another boy. Man, Lucy is something else.
Yeah.
No thanks. But he's happy that she has another boyfriend.
Right.
Ah.
And Bizarro Jimmy goes to Perry with another news story. Valuable garbage thrown away.
Actually, in real world, a Bizarro Jimmy people would read that stuff. They'd eat it up.
Yeah.
I would love to. I'd buy that for $1. And to see Jimmy messes up the Jimmy Olsen
the fan club.
fan club.
It starts a fire there too.
Yeah, he burns all this cool
He's like, it's
stuff.
too hot in here. I gotta start this fire to cool things off.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the police, I think they were about to arrest him, and here comes Bizarro Superman.
Yeah, he's gonna take him back to Bizarro World.
Yay! Okay.
And so here's part 2 of this story: exiled on the Bizarro World.
Yeah. He sees Bizarro beetle bugs, and later on we see them again, and he says, "Wow, in Bizarro World they make good music." I guess they didn't like the Beatles. We live in a time where rock and roll is accepted and it's part of the mainstream.
Yeah.
But back then it was not.
Right.
And I just was watching Agent Carter, which
Yeah.
I enjoyed, and he had a let's see, I think it was a Chevy Colorado truck, and they were playing AC/DC, which was, when I was growing up, was evil rock group.
Wait, that song wasn't on Agent Carter. It'd be a total anachronism.
No, the advertisement.
Oh, a commercial while
Yeah.
you were watching it?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. And I've seen that commercial you're referring to.
Mm-hmm.
And
And that is remarkable. I mean, we grown-ups were supposed to hate rock and roll, and it was that way until I think the mid '80s,
sure. and
and now it's commonplace. So now they got to do something else to tick off the middle class.
Right.
But the Beatles were hated by the adults. And even Time and Newsweek really gave them bad reviews and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And
I remember a thing Alice Cooper said. He loved the Beatles, when they came out, obviously. But his parents were like, real against on him until the Rolling Stones came along. Then the Beatles were okay.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah, but anyway.
All right, so Jimmy goes to the Bizarro World. Bizarro Code. Us do opposite of all earthly things. Us hate beauty. Us love ugliness. It's big crime to make anything perfect on Bizarro World.
I love it.
The Tower of Pisa is not leaning.
Mm-hmm. The Statue of Liberty, which is called something else, has like a spiked mace instead of a torch.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I think it'd be cool.
Yeah. Those things are nuts.
Wheels are square instead of round.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy is welcomed by his friends, but they throw bricks at him.
Yeah.
There was a politician, and if you vote for me promise to raise taxes, rob the government treasury, and give all my relatives plenty graft. Hooray! This candidate so dishonest, me vote for him 6 times. Just like in our world.
Man, so I was thinking when I was reading this, wouldn't it be great to read like a weird Elseworld story about like a totally like dystopian fascist bizarro world where like somebody was born like their brain was normal and they were like a few people who were like kind of like rebellious, kind of like a 1984. To be the Winston Smith of Bizarro World, wouldn't that be crazy?
There are people in there, and they're mentioned, and they're sent to an insane asylum.
Yeah, but I was thinking of like in a very Alan Moore kind of storyline,
Right.
like wow, that would be neat. So
Yeah. All right. So Jimmy sees bizarre Lex Luthor, and but Lex Luthor is a philanthropist here, but
Yeah.
he tries to kill Jimmy with Blue K, and it doesn't work.
because Jimmy's not really a Bizarro.
But it does have an effect on him. His brain turns normal.
Right. So, yeah, because Blue K is the only kryptonite that will affect Bizarros.
And so here he meets the beetle bugs, and
Yeah. Instead of black wigs, they have white ones.
Yeah, as if they had wigs at all.
Well, you know what I mean. People wore their beetle wigs.
Yeah. Hey, their music is good.
Yeah, Jimmy's at a dance, and people are like, "Oh, I'm having a terrible time," and that's what they like.
Yeah, it's yeah, and that's what makes it so hard to read. It's really So, Jimmy messes up the newspaper story. So Perry gives him a raise in coal, which is their form of
currency. Yeah. Jimmy write a good story, and then
and Lucy Lane loves him. And there's a bunch of them too.
Yeah,
they're cute even when they're Bizarro girls.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bizarro makes a fake Bizarro Professor Potter.
Yeah.
And it turns Jimmy into Jimmy.
Yeah, because Professor Potter creates a Bizarro ray. The Bizarro Professor Potter makes something that actually works and is able to fix Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Superman comes in after Jimmy uses his signal watch and rescues Jimmy from Bizarro World.
Yeah. Perry White likes Jimmy's story. Man, I would love to read that. And,
what's it called? My Bizarro World Adventure by Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah. And he says, hey, in the world you get a lower salary, paid off in coal. Yep, some of those bizarre customs are not so crazy. I'm in favor of them.
Oh, man.
Jimmy's all ticked off.
Yeah. So, the next story we've got to read in this is Jimmy Olsen's Double Trouble, written by, by Jerry Siegel, with art by George Papp.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this is kind of not mundane, but not so crazy, but still some cool stuff happens.
Yeah.
All right, so Jimmy is kidnapped, and he's captured by criminals, and there is a Jimmy double who looks exactly like him, but he's a criminal.
Right.
So they slap Jimmy around, and they want information about the safe in the planet, and he tells them that he doesn't know, and a bell rings because they have a lie detector on Jimmy.
Right.
So he can't lie. So he tells them where to get the money.
Mm-hmm.
And man, the fake Jimmy tells Perry White that he saw Clark Kent around the safe before it got stolen, which is kind of a crappy thing to do.
Well, it's the evil Jimmy.
Yep. I know, but it's these are bad guys.
Yeah. So they're just weird. What criminal? What's his name? The Hyper Thief or something?
Hyper Crook.
Hyper Crook. Yeah.
Who can shrink things to this, like these curios to the size of a grain of sand. He puts them underneath his fingernails.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of crazy and cool. So I wish I could do that. But
That's what I love about DC Comics. They do crazy stuff that you would never see at Marvel.
Right.
You know? Marvel is kind of like known for like having some levels of realism.
Mm-hmm.
But then DC has just got all this off the wall stuff that is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love both. I'm glad that they're both so different.
Indeed.
You know, so.
All right, so they rescue Hyper Crook. Well, I would have thought of a better name for me than Hyper Crook.
Here's the thing: they're not creating this guy to be a return villain. They probably would have come up with a better name.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, although he's an interesting character. He's really clever and fast, and has all kinds of tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah.
He can dimension warp.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right, so the Crook's saying, all right, Jimmy, you know where there's some kryptonite, and tell us. And they say, I want to tell you. And he's slapped around and loses his bow tie, which is bad news for Jimmy.
Right.
But good news for everybody else. All right, so he tells a story that...
Jimmy does?
Yeah. Superman threw kryptonite in the bottom of a lake. And...
So they want to go and get it so they can finish off Superman.
Yeah. So Jimmy, bad Jimmy, gets the watch and dives down to the lake to get the box.
But his orange hair dye washes off, and so when Superman shows up, he sees it's not the real Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he busts those guys.
All right. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But then they said, well, why didn't the lie detector go? When he was knocked around, the bow tie went into where the clapper was on the bell.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
And, yeah, it was. And Superman, when he saw him fuse the lead box together, he has limited power over lead, but he could melt a little bit of it.
See, I didn't realize he couldn't like really melt lead so much.
Neither did I.
I always thought he could destroy it. He just couldn't see through it. But I think it probably comes from the fact that the heat vision developed over time. Originally, it was the X-ray vision.
Mm-hmm.
So because the X-ray vision, he couldn't see through lead. When it developed, using it intensely became heat vision.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand it being tougher.
Yeah.
So the last book we're going to talk about for this episode is Jimmy Olsen, number 146. And the lead story is called Homo Disastrous. And this is part of Jack Kirby's run writing and drawing Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, I love Jack Kirby and love Jimmy Olsen, but I don't. This is okay, but it's not the Jimmy I know and love. So, but it's really well drawn.
Yeah. Wonderful inks by Mike Royer. I want to mention he's great. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's about all I needed to say. God, there's a bunch of new people. Jack puts over the Newsboy Legion in it, and the Evil Factory, and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can always count on Jack Kirby to come up with lots of ideas, and I like that. It's very different than the Silver Age Jimmy Olsen,
right.
But it's not bad. It's just different. It's still got lots of crazy things going on. It's just a different kind of crazy.
Yeah, and they're not. I was amused at Jimmy Olsen, and I love the Silver Age Jimmy Olsen, and I'm amused and fascinated. It's not a bad adventure yarn.
Yeah.
Actually, it's very good. It's just not. There's not as much humor in it. Not enough crazy stuff, but it's not kooky crazy. It's just It's Kirby crazy, which is cool, but
yeah. I think it's an interesting run. Next week we'll have like one more issue of Kirby's Olsen. In fact, his very last one he did. This is near the end of Kirby's run on the book. I really need to sit down and read like the Fourth World Saga, and really because this has very little to do with Darkseid or the New Gods.
He is mentioned.
Yes, because I think the guys
Darkseid
I think the guys from the Evil Factory, is it Mokari and Simeon?
Yeah.
Are Darkseid's minions? I think that's right. Is that right? I might keep talking.
Oh, yeah, that's their name.
Yeah, that's Mokari. That's right.
I did not know how to pronounce their names.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about? Jimmy has been turned into
a caveman.
Caveman, yeah, and he's going berserk.
Mm-hmm.
First, he's fighting the guys in the Evil Factory, Simeon and Mokari.
Mm-hmm. Pretty cool, and they finally blast him with some kind of weird blaster, which is kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
Everything looks Kirby-esque and it's great. And then here comes, a
couple of the kids from the Newsboy Legion. I think it's Scrapper
and Scrapper Trooper, who is a doppelganger.
Who's a clone. Because this Newsboy Legion are clones of the original.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
why would you want to do that?
I don't know, but the DNA Project cloned them. The DNA Project, which later be known as Project Cadmus, cloned them. And also we see like one of the coolest characters from the DNA Project, Double X.
Mm-hmm.
And he and Superman are hanging out at the project, and Double X is using his telekinetic powers to lift this beautiful girl into the air.
Yeah, they couldn't lift an anvil or something. It's got to be a beautiful girl.
Are you complaining?
I approve heartily.
The girl is lovely.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and she is.
Yeah. Oh, when I give credits, I should mention, of course, that the faces of Superman and Jimmy are redrawn by Murphy Anderson, which is weird and unnecessary.
Yeah.
Not to knock Murphy Anderson, but it's a knock on Kirby that DC felt that was necessary.
Yeah, and it kind of, I was wondering, because there are some that are done by Kirby, and these could have been done by Kirby. And they don't stand out as very different from the rest of the drawing.
Right. Yeah.
But, oh well.
Yeah.
Okay. So
what's going on with Double X and Superman?
they're doing... Okay, there's some tunnel they found. They're trying to figure out. The Guardian comes up, and so Superman goes in the tunnel and tries to figure out what's going on with this huge tunnel.
Right.
And that's about it. I think it's the last we see of them.
Oh, of Superman?
In this issue.
Oh, okay.
All right, so the rest of them... Okay.
Oh, no, he goes in a boom tube.
Is it a boom tube?
Yeah. Looks like it.
No, it says when the next boom tube appears here,
oh, okay.
what will come out of it.
Right.
And then he sees a light, and what could that be?
Right.
We don't know.
I love boom tubes. That's such a cool idea, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I was underwhelmed. I don't know. It's really, I don't know. The whole thing that Kirby was doing this time was kind of hippie-fied. And
man.
It is.
I don't... What is hippie about the boom tubes?
Well, the boom tube, it's about the sound of it, and the name of it, boom tube. That sounds like something you smoke marijuana with or something.
Wow, I never would have gone there.
And I just...
Jeff's hatred of hippies is just... It's warped your mind, Jeff.
No, I don't hate them. I just disdain them. It's a big difference.
Oh, okay.
I've always liked the hippie chick look myself, but and I have friends who are hippies, but and so I just because I care.
Okay.
Nothing with them, not at them.
Right.
Oh, so the rest of the Newsboy Legion are in this cool car. It's a
it has such a neat name too.
What is it? It's the Whiz Wagon.
Yeah, the Whiz Wagon.
No, it's not a neat name. That's a stupid name. I have to disagree.
Okay.
All right. But it's a cool car. Because it sounds like a mobile bathroom.
Okay.
All right. So they're trying...
The Newsboy Legion?
The Newsboy Legion is creating commotion so Scrapper and Trooper Scrapper can find Jimmy. And they... the Newsboy, the Whiz Wagon, gets into this... gets spun around and knocks everybody out. And then they are sent into a nuclear furnace. Yeah. So, our bad guys...
Makari and Simeon.
Yeah.
Are in the evil factory. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh.
New York City?
Yeah.
So,
they come back and they found that Scrapper and Scrapper Trooper have rescued Jimmy. And then Jimmy is knocked out, and he finally wakes up in the worst place imaginable.
He's next to this menagerie of like prehistoric beasts, and he releases them.
Yeah. Smooth move, Jimmy.
And he fights a saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah, and they look great.
Yeah.
They look fantastic.
Makes me think of Kazar and Zabu.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. In fact, this saber-toothed tiger looks just like Kirby's rendering of Zabu, but duh.
Yeah. But it's cool. All right. The Newsboy Legion gets away from the nuclear furnace.
In the Whiz Wagon?
Yes. Oh. Yeah. Everyone's knocked out except I don't know his name.
Who is he? The black kid?
Yeah.
Because he's new and just tacked on. He wears scuba gear. I don't know why.
Yeah. Okay.
But him and Big Words are there, and that's cool.
Yeah. So they escape, and then there's this menagerie of huge evil monsters.
Yeah, and it's so rad looking.
Yeah, and Jimmy's leading them to victory.
Oh man, Jimmy Olsen versus Devil Dinosaur.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
I got the trade paperback of Devil Dinosaur for Christmas.
I heard about that. So
Yeah.
I envy you. Although I'll take the Batman complete DVD of the.
Yes, you win.
Yep. With the car.
Anyway.
All right. So there's a huge fight. And Jimmy tears up everything. Oh, nice house ad for Army of War Sergeant Rock.
Yeah, well, it's a 100-page super spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I love Sergeant Rock.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So there's a big fight, and it blows up, and Jimmy's knocked out of somewhere, and they don't know what's going on. So
Yeah.
It's all in the next issue. A Superman in Super Town. We'll see what happens.
Well, we won't, because I don't have that issue. But
okay.
It's a mystery. So, Tales from the DNA Project is in a backup we have. And this is about Aaron, the Armored Man.
Yeah.
Chris Kirby wrote and drew this. And let me see who inked it. Mike Royer did the inks. It's just a 2-pager, but it's really neat.
Yeah. I want never hear about him again, I guess.
Yeah, but Aaron, the Armored Man, is a guy who can live in space, and he's genetically engineered to like thrive without oxygen. And so they send him into space, and he's carrying a precious cargo, Superman's DNA code, which is neat. So, but we do have a backup, and this is really cool. It's a Golden Age reprint of the Newsboy Legion and the Guardian, of course. And the story is called Preview of Peril. It's reprinted from Star Spangled Comics number 12 from way back in 1942. Written by Jack Kirby and Joe Simon. And, the art is penciled by Kirby and inked by Joe Simon. And in the splash page, it's really neat because we see the Newsboys and the Guardian with all these Hollywood stars. You see Bing Crosby and Bob Hope and Hedy Lamarr and Clark Gable, among others.
Yeah, and...
Danny Kaye?
No, I think that is... Oh, he was in a bunch of musicals and he died this year.
Mickey Rooney?
Mickey Rooney. I think that's Mickey Rooney.
Well, they're drawing him awfully tall next to Clark Gable. Mickey Rooney was a little guy.
I think Clark was kind of short, too.
Really?
I think I might be totally wrong on that. But,
I don't know about that.
But Hedy Lamarr, she just died last year.
Did she?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
She invented the... she invented the way to... I can't explain it, but because of her, we have cell phones.
She was a mathematician. That's right. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
I can't remember what that has to do with cell phones, but yeah.
It's some kind of bouncing waves or something like that. I don't know. I'm kind of stupid. Sorry.
I only vaguely know this reference, so I'm sorry I can't be bigger help. But anyway, so what's going on with the Newsboy Legion?
All right. Someone is stealing a banana from the fruits and vegetable guy, and he's chased and he falls down in front of the Newsboy Legion.
And, Gabby and Scrapper find him.
Yeah, and so they, I guess they pay off the boy, the
grocer.
Yeah, and the kid says, "Hey, I'm starving, and our family's starving." So they get all the money they can. And let's see. So we have Big Words, Scrapper,
Gabby, and I think Tommy.
Tommy is a normal one. Big Words is the intellectual one. Scrapper is always one to fight. And I don't know what the other guy is.
And Gabby is just kind of another kid.
Yeah.
Gabby and Scrapper are pretty similar.
Right, and they're ugly.
Yeah.
Tommy and Big Words are well dressed and handsome.
Right.
So we think that they are probably wealthier than the other guys.
Perhaps.
Yeah. But so they buy a bunch of groceries, take it to the place where the kid lives.
Because his mom's sick and their dad left and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
And they feel bad. So it says, I wonder what we should help a lot of people, because a lot of people are even worse off than us.
So they talk to the neighborhood beat cop.
Who happens to be the Guardian.
Yeah, Jim Harper, who is the Guardian, and he's their legal guardian.
Which is an interesting thing. Okay, so that's a good cover.
Yeah.
cop.
I love that the neighborhood beat cop is the neighborhood superhero.
Yeah.
Love it.
I would love to have a neighborhood superhero.
Me
I would
too.
love to have a beat cop.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going, Mr. Varner? Hey, Mr. Policeman, how you doing?
Yeah.
So, so the Guardian, or as a cop said, why don't you make a movie? And so he tells them how to make a movie.
He happens to have a movie camera
Right.
to lend them, which is weird because that would be a super expensive thing.
But he's a superhero, so I guess he has. I don't know.
Okay.
The whole movie thing is stupid in many levels. So.
Okay.
So they're filming something, and they get into a fight with each other, and they crash into a gangster hideout. And they start filming the gangsters, and the gangsters are mad, and they get all this money, and I don't know what they do with the money. I guess they give the money to Jim Harper.
Right. Because Officer Harper is, a real stand-up guy.
Yeah.
So Harper fights the mobsters.
As Harper, but not as Guardian.
Right.
He does a good job, even though he's going against guns.
Yeah. But later he leaps into action as a Guardian.
Because they're filming, the kids are filming something, and here the gangsters know that they are on film. So they come up and say, "Give us a film," and Guardian comes, kicks their butt.
It looks great. The Guardian is so cool.
I don't know. What's wrong with me? I don't like them that much. So don't like the Newsboy Legion either.
I really like the Newsboy Legion. I'll take them. The other kid gang that Kirby did, the Boy Commandos. Ugh, I hate them. But I like the Newsboy Legion.
I can't tell them the difference. to tell the difference.
Well, the Newsboy Legion don't fight in World War II.
Yeah, although this is during World War II.
Yes.
So they make a movie, and they're going to show it on screen.
And they were going to use the money to give to all the poor people.
Yeah.
But Big Words or whoever was filming didn't take the lens cap off, so there's no film.
But I see a picture here, and there is no lens cap on the camera.
Okay, well, it's a goof then.
Yeah. Plus, you just don't make a movie, film with a camera, and then show it to people.
There's an editing process. There's all kinds of stuff.
Right. And normally you would watch it before you show it to an audience.
Right.
So
there are some holes in this plot.
But I like when they're showing the movie as nothing and people are booing. It's a great
panel, yeah.
Yeah. But then they get attacked by the bad guys again, and the Guardian comes and attacks, and everyone enjoys the
show, seeing Guardians fight all those guys. And so they let them keep the money to help people.
Yep. Okay, so that's that.
Yeah.
But not bad. Well, I enjoyed it. So.
Yeah. So we're gonna have one more issue of Jimmy Olsen before we really move on. So really, we're done with all our Jimmy stuff. I know, but I know you've been really enjoying these.
I have. I can't explain it. I always like to know the reason why I like something. So if someone asks me why do you like it, I can have an explanation besides it's kind of cool.
I don't know. It's hard for me. Sometimes you just like something and then try to articulate why is a difficult thing.
That's what critics do.
Yeah.
And a good critic will. I think it's just the goofiness of it juxtaposed upon the super square society.
Yeah. I mean, I understand why when I don't like something, and I can now analyze that and talk about the strengths or weaknesses of a thing. But if something is just pure pleasure for me, it's hard to articulate why I like it. I do.
And in order, and also to proselytize, because I say, hey, you ever read Jimmy Olsen? And people say, but I think it's the best of Silver Age, and I don't know of anything that comes close to it in my estimation. Just sheer fun.
Yeah.
And
I think in the Silver Age, the Superman family of titles, I love that stuff and all the craziness, and it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing makes me laugh in comics more than reading those.
Mm-hmm.
The other exception being the dialogue in the Fantastic Four in the Silver Age. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the Silver Age Marvel dialogue in general has got a lot of funny wisecracks. Daredevil and Spidey have a lot of good wisecracks.
Yeah.
But the Thing, man, his dialogue is so hilarious.
Mm-hmm. And he's a grown-up scrapper, kind of.
Yeah.
And
he's a
fun.
roughneck, and he's a fun guy.
I think Kirby practiced on the Newsboy Legion, and he got it right with the Thing.
Sure. Well, I mean, many characters I think were leading up to being, the Thing. I mean, first of all, there will be a character in a group that Kirby will do that are one of those characters is definitely the Kirby, like as in that is Jack Kirby, representative of him, the person.
Mm-hmm.
The Newsboy Legion, it was Scrapper.
Hmm.
In I can't remember what the kid's name, the kid with the derby in the Boy Commandos. That's Kirby.
Well, warts and all for him drawing himself then.
Right. Exactly.
I'd be tempted to draw the handsome guy.
Right. Nick Fury is Kirby, and so is Rocky from the Challenges of the Unknown.
Yeah. Nick Fury's another good working class, and I like seeing some work. I think the Newsboy Legion goes overboard. I'm mortalizing.
Right.
But
it's speaking directly from where Kirby came from. He grew up. He was a neighborhood kid like that.
And we're not used to hearing accents anymore. And people say, "Oh, there's a southern." And I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. I rarely heard a southern accent. You don't hear. Occasionally hear some of my friends had a Long Island accent, and they're learning southernisms, so hearing Long Island New Yorkers saying y'all and all that's just great. It's just fun.
I picked up y'all in high school because I had a couple of Southerners as classmates. I just love the way it sounds.
I think it's very useful.
I'm from Oregon. Oregonians don't say y'all, but I say y'all.
What else are you gonna say? Use guys?
Yeah. I just like it.
It tells there's more than one person you're talking to.
Yeah.
And you should do. It's I don't know, but yep, Jimmy Olsen's great. That's about it. All right. Well, I guess we'll see you next time on the Funny Pages.